Welcome to Response-Able Parenting, the podcast that shows you how to parent in alignment to your emotions, needs, and goals versus your programming, bad advice, and let's face it, outdated strategies that just don't work. You'll get in the trenches support on nervous system and emotional regulation, critical mindset shifts, stronger communication strategies, and more. In this podcast, you'll gain transformational tools that take you from reacting to every frustration to responding with clarity, regulation, and finally setting the example you desire for your kids. I'm Becky Jennings, your new parenting coach, and this is the Response-Able Parenting Podcast. Let's get into it. I don't know if anybody's ready for the power of this episode. I have the privilege and honor of interviewing Tim Shurr. Tim specializes in rapid mindset transformation for people who are facing ongoing stress and emotional triggers. Hello, welcome to this audience. He has over 36 years of experience facilitating more than 16,000 belief transformation sessions. He works with Fortune 500 executives, top performers, all with the goal to rewire the unconscious patterns that drive 95% of our behaviors. His one belief away method reliably creates fast, lasting shifts that most expect only after years and years of therapy. In this episode, we are going to talk about so many different tools that you can start utilizing today. He is going to walk us through an actual hypnosis process that I left feeling really revitalized, really transformed, and I am so excited to bring this episode to you. I'm not going to jabber on anymore because this is an incredibly powerful episode. So if you're driving, there is going to be a meditation during this process. So save that chunk for later for when you get home. Or if you're going for a walk, try to tap in and tune into what he is saying. But this is an incredible episode, and I cannot wait for you to take away all these beautiful nuggets. So without further ado, let's dive in. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode. You are in for a treat today. Most of you who are here have extremely strong-willed children or ADHD children or children on the spectrum, and you feel on a daily basis tapped, fried, beyond the scope of what you can actually tolerate and manage. And Tim is here to help us through this. I am so excited. We're going to get practical strategies. We're probably going to get an actual rundown where we can do in real time how to shift our mindset away from chronically feeling like we are stuck, chronically feeling like we don't know what to do. We are lacking the tools, lacking the resources. Today, you are going to get a massive upgrade. So Tim, thank you for being here. I'm so excited for this episode.
Thank you, Becky. I'm excited to have this conversation with you so that we can share some really amazing tools that are going to help people feel more peaceful and at ease right now.
I love that. I love that. So Tim, tell us a little bit about what you do and what we're going to be doing today.
So I'm a mind architect, and a mind architect is someone who designs inevitable outcomes, right? At a subconscious level. Right. So I started out going to school for psychology, and I found that therapy was sometimes too slow, just trying to help people have a positive attitude about the terrible things that they've been through in life. And then I got into hypnotherapy because it helped me to overcome anxiety, and I stopped biting my fingernails, and I'm like, wow, this is really cool. And so I used hypnosis to help people to unlock that power deep inside of their mind that they had trouble accessing. And then I did about 16,000 individual sessions over my 37-year career, just obsessed with helping people to overcome the biggest challenges of their lives and move forward with a sense of peace instead of constant pressure. And I've learned a lot in that time, and I'm going to share my best secrets with you and your audience right now.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Well, everybody who comes to this podcast is arguably very anxious on a day-to-day basis. They're combing the internet, searching for skills, searching for strategies, because the communication and the just constant hypervigilance, walking on eggshells, feeling like no matter what they say, do, strategy they employ, it's like we're still finding resistance with our kids. We're still not being able to move the needle in any positive direction. And you and I have the same goal for people, right? Have strategies in place so that everything doesn't feel so heavy all the time, that we can actually feel good in this life that we've been given. So let's walk through like a typical, maybe even a typical situation. You can use me as a guinea pig if you'd like, but with an ADHD child, like we might find something where we're like, oh, this is going to be perfect. And we have this expectation and we go to use this strategy and it falls completely flat. And we kind of feel stuck in the moment like, oh God, what do I do next?
Yeah, that's kind of how we feel about everything in life often, right?
Yeah.
Right? You try to lose some weight and a new diet, and then you have the best plan and it goes out the window, right?
Yep.
Or you're growing a business, right? Or you're working your job, or you're in your marriage and you've got this whole plan for why we're not going to argue tonight. And then all of a sudden we argued and you're like, what happened? Right?
Yeah.
So, and with our kids, we have our plans, we have our best interests. And it's not just hoping that it's going to work and trying to get to a specific outcome. It's also giving yourself credit for showing up, for trying so hard, for being there for someone who feels very out of control. So just the fact that you're showing up, that you're on the field every day is already a win, right? And we don't give ourselves enough credit. You're not, our listeners, you're not giving yourself enough credit that you keep showing up, that you keep caring, that you're the one looking for tools, right? You're listening to this right now. That means that you're already amazing. You're already successful because you're out there trying to make a difference in a difficult situation. So let's start with having some grace and gratitude for you. And we can do an exercise before this session is complete, this interview, so that you actually walk away from this session feeling refreshed, recharged, and rejuvenated.
I love that.
So yeah, so the work that I do is I try to figure out what's going on underneath the mindset, right? So mindset is we're talking to ourselves, right? And we're trying to figure out how to make ourselves feel safe or peaceful, how to get our child to listen, focus, move in a positive direction. And that voice in our head where we're constantly narrating our life is constantly going and talking. And so, you can talk yourselves into doing something. You can talk yourself out of doing something. You can look at a situation and make yourself feel peaceful or stressed out. You can make yourself feel hopeful or defeated, like there's no hope. And all of that, is it fluctuates. What I look at what drives the talk, right? What's driving it underneath? Because I found that even in therapy, when we're talking about our problems, sometimes it's like cutting the top off of a weed or throwing dirt on top of the weed. It's not really solving the issue. You got to pull the weed out at the root and then plant a flower instead. So that's what I focused on doing. And I found that it's the beliefs that are underneath the mindset that are driving how we think and feel on a daily basis. So
Okay.
let's take a look at some of those beliefs. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh gosh,
So,
it's amazing too, like just in real context. It's like going from picking my kid up from school, taking him to a baseball practice, just in that 15-minute car ride, the amount
yes.
of I'm now hyper aware of my unconscious beliefs because that's the work that I do. But,
Yes.
the sensation that I feel in my body, anger, frustration, disappointment. And then I'm like, what is this telling me? What is this actually telling me? And it's like, I'm afraid he's going to embarrass himself, or I'm afraid
Mm.
I'm going to feel embarrassed on the field, or,
Yeah.
look at how it's a reflection of what I do as a job and look at my child, how he's acting out, things like that. There's all these different things that start swirling in my head and of course drive the words that come out of my mouth.
That's right. So so here's two questions that I ask all the time. What would I have to believe to feel embarrassed? Right. And then what would I rather believe instead? So if you start to understand, think about what would I have to believe to feel this way, to think this way, to show up or react in this way. So since you use that example, which is a great one because a lot of people feel that way, we ask ourselves, well, what would I have to believe in order to feel embarrassed? So let's play with that a little bit then. So what would you have to believe to feel that your son might embarrass himself or you might get embarrassed as a result? What would you have to believe to get there?
Oh man. You mean in terms of like what he's going to do, or what like external presentation, or like external uh
So embarrassment
response?
is a feeling that something's wrong, that we're being humiliated, that it's a reflection of our character or our
Totally.
self-worth,
Totally. Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
regardless of what he does, people can feel embarrassed, but you don't have to feel embarrassed. You could feel compassionate, empowered, resourceful, kind, wise, playful,
Yeah.
right? So you
Yeah.
could show up with all kinds of feelings and emotions in that situation, but we tend to get addicted to like five emotions that we just kind of circle through.
Oh my God.
So if embarrassment is one of them, then what would you have to believe? What would it mean about you for you to have to feel embarrassed?
Yeah, I think for me, embarrassment really comes from, the amount of effort put in for me that I'm putting in with him on a daily basis, and then to have none of it kind of show up in the heat of the moment. It's like,
Hmm.
God, I've been working so hard on that. And
Yeah,
to me, it's like, maybe he doesn't care as much as I do. Maybe I shouldn't care as much as he. There's so many of the shoulds that come rushing through my head of like, why do
yeah,
I actually care so much? Why does it
yeah,
even matter? He's just, yeah, he can strike out 500 times, like, but he kind of
yeah.
looks silly doing it. And we talked about like, we went to the field, we practiced extra. And sometimes I'm like, is he doing it to make me mad? Is he doing it to embarrass?
Yeah.
Like there's so
Yeah.
many things that
Yeah.
rush through your head.
Right. All right. So let's break it down a little bit. Right.
Yeah,
So the belief, there's a couple of beliefs in there. One, the first belief is that, I've worked so hard, I've put so much effort in, and it has failed, which means that I have failed.
totally.
Right. So I'm a failure in public. Okay.
Mhm.
Which, if your son strikes out and has a temper tantrum, does that make you a failure in life?
No,
No, because you're not having the temper tantrum.
correct.
you know it's like farmer wisdom. We can plant the seeds, but we're not in control if the seeds grow,
Yeah.
right? We don't control the soil, we don't control the weather. There's so much out of our control, but we make it always about ourselves and our worth, because our deepest fear for all of us is that we're not enough, we're not good enough. And that fear of losing approval, of losing love, of losing status is very scary for human beings. It's kind of in our DNA. And
100%.
so we have that belief that if my child doesn't behave in a certain way in public, it means that I'm a failure, I'm not good enough. That's just a
Mhm.
belief. That's not accurate. It's just an idea that's floating around in our unconscious mind, influencing us, which really cranks up the pressure now, right? Because if you feel like your self-worth is on the line every time you go out in public, of course you're going to react.
Oh my
Okay,
gosh. Yeah.
because that is like, whew, you've just cranked the dial up to 10. So something that maybe could be urgent has become an emergency, right? So now we're in constant fight or flight mode because of this belief we didn't even realize was there.
Yeah.
So, so that was the first belief. The second belief is, you know, does anybody really care?
Yeah. By the way, that's so true. That's so true.
Yeah, yeah. Do anybody care about me? Why do I care so much when no one cares? And we start to feel like nobody cares. Nobody cares about what I'm going through. Nobody, my child, it doesn't care about me because we worked so hard and did the extra practices, and they're still acting that way. That means that they don't care about me. They don't love me. And then that pushes that feeling of unworthiness inside of us again.
Yeah.
And so what do? We put more effort in because we're trying to secretly get that love,
Yeah. And
right? We're
more
trying to secretly
control and
feel that
more all of
connection.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's why it becomes so emotional and so stressful on top of it already being stressful, right? So these situations are very challenging just regularly.
Yeah.
And but when you put all of these other beliefs and emotion on top of it, that's when it starts to feel like it's too much.
Mhm.
So you can go from manageable to overwhelming very quickly if
Yeah.
you have these beliefs in place that most everybody does, and we just don't realize it.
Yeah.
So question one would be, what would I have to believe to feel this way? Right? And then question two is, what would I rather believe instead? So let's break this down, because there was two beliefs there. So the first belief is that if my son strikes out or acts in a certain way, that means that I'm worthless or I'm not good enough or I'm a failure. What would you rather believe instead?
I would rather believe that he actually is showing up and doing his best. And it has it,
Yeah.
and cognitively, and this is what's crazy, cognitively, I'm fully aware of that second belief. Like,
Hmm.
it really doesn't matter. It does in my
Hmm.
head, I'm like, it doesn't matter. But
Hmm.
then, he tells me at home, like, I was embarrassed, or I was this, or I was that. And I hold that for him, and it's not mine to
Hmm.
hold.
No, you don't have to hold it. It's like he handed you a rock
Hmm.
and you can set that rock down. What
Hmm.
we do is we take that rock and we put it in our bag. We put it
Yes,
in
of
our
course.
backpack.
Of course.
Yeah. You got
Yeah.
another rock? Let me put it in my backpack. And they're walking around like this all day by the weight of the backpack, carrying around. And it's not just his rock. We're carrying everybody else's rocks too, right?
Totally.
Especially if you're a woman listening to this, you got a giant backpack because you're carrying everybody else's rocks.
Yeah.
So we have the ability to take that rock and say, yes, I feel this. And now I'm going to let it down.
Yeah.
I'm gonna set it down. Let it down sounds like the wrong use of words. People let their mind go, oh, I'm letting people down. No, no, no. We're gonna update those words, right? So we're
Yeah.
setting the rock down. There's a difference between empathy and sympathy.
Hmm.
Sympathy is when you feel sorry for your kid and then you feel sick inside, right? Empathy is where you have compassion for them, but you understand this is a journey that's going to help them grow stronger. You
Yeah.
know, diamonds are not formed with feathers. Diamonds are formed under tremendous pressure for a long time. And when they finally emerge, yes, they're sparkly and valuable, but they're also so strong, they can cut through steel. And some of my most successful clients, because I have rich, famous, successful clients and that are entertainers or celebrities or business owners, and almost all of them have ADD or ADHD
Yeah.
or OCD.
Totally.
They got all the letters.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. But yeah, it is that. It is that. It's like the future. The ideal belief would be he's a kid exploring, having fun. Like this actually doesn't matter at all. It doesn't matter at
Yeah.
all. And in fact,
Yeah.
it matters so little that the anything that we're putting onto it is what he's
Yeah.
going to remember versus just getting up to bat and having fun.
Oh, you just hit it out of the park. That's exactly right. That is the goal. Everybody rewind the last 10 seconds and listen to what Becky just said, because that's the drop the mic moment. It's not the situation. It's how you are responding to it when he comes up to you or he looks at you in the stands, he or she, right? It's how you are responding. If you're like, this is just an experience, you're going to have lots of them. It's how you handle it. And it's okay if you get mad. It's okay if you get frustrated. That's
Yep.
what we use to try better next time,
Yep.
right? As long as you remain calm and relaxed while they're upset, they feel safe. You're creating a safe space. But
Yeah.
when they're escalated and you're escalated, then all of a sudden everybody's escalated. There's no safe space for anyone, and you're supposed to be their safe space,
Mhm.
right? So that doesn't mean you're gonna, you're not perfect. You're gonna slip. You're gonna get stressed out. You're gonna lose it sometimes. The best thing you can do is forgive yourself and move on. Pivot,
Yeah.
shift, get back into place, and we've got a free tool that you can use to help you do that, and that'll be in the show notes. And so we can shift this around. But yeah, exactly what you said. It's not what shows up. It's how you show up that matters most.
Yeah, we were actually talking about that after the game. They did win, and it was like a crazy stressful game. And we're in the playoffs, and it was like, I
Wow.
mean, we were down to like last batter, two outs, two runners on. We were two behind. It was like it could not have been more
Yeah.
stressful. But we were
Yes.
talking
Yes.
about it, and I was like, how do you feel when you go up to the plate? What
Yeah.
feelings are you feeling? And he's like, I just feel
Yeah.
like I can't wait to hit it. And I'm like, that's amazing. What do you
Ooh.
feel when you strike out? And he said, I feel really disappointed in myself. And I said, I
Mhm.
understand that feeling. That's a real feeling. And I
Yeah.
said, Dad and I just listened to this really good podcast yesterday, and it was a business owner, and he was talking about like one of the most resilient things you can ever experience is disappointment and frustration with yourself. And he
Mhm.
said, we were talking about, we explained a little bit more about the podcast, but I said, this guy started 9 businesses and 8 of them failed.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I said, "You want to know how many businesses mommy has started?" And I started counting. I go, "Oh my gosh, I've started 7 businesses, and this is and he was like, "You've started 7?" But I was like, "Yeah, buddy." But every single time, I just was like, "That sucks." I mourned that loss, and I'm gonna get back up and try again. And he was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, that's what I do." He goes, "I get back up." I'm like, "Yes, that's
Yeah.
what we do." And it was just
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
really fun way of talking to him about how it's like these are just micro moments that we're experiencing, and it's not who you are. It doesn't determine your goodness, but
Yeah.
these moments still feel really sticky. They feel
So
hard.
yeah, I mean that's awesome. That's just awesome. So here's a tool. that you can use, right? So you got your two questions, right? So the first question is, what would I have to believe to feel this way? And then what would I rather believe instead? The second tool is the questions you use. The quality of your life is being determined by the quality of the questions you ask yourself all day long. And there's two types of questions. I call them lousy questions and power questions. So lousy questions usually come from fear, right? So what if it goes wrong? What if I strike out? Right? What's wrong with me? How come things never go the way I want? Whose fault is this? Why this? Why me? Why now? And those questions cause us to focus on what we don't want. And where your attention goes, your energy flows, right? Your mind
100%.
works like a GPS. Yeah. So you focus on what you don't want, it's going to take you there. You never tell your GPS, don't take me to the post office, because that's where it will
Yeah,
take you.
exactly. Exactly.
Right. But that's what we do all the time in our mind. Oh, I hope this doesn't happen. What if this happens? And so
Yeah, it's like on Waze,
we're,
it'll show you, it'll be like, this route is 6 minutes slower. You're like, why would I choose
yeah,
that? Why would I
right,
choose that
right.
route? Yeah.
So we do that with all kinds of things, and we just don't realize it, right? So a lot of athletes, when they get in a slump, they'll go up to the plate and they'll say, just don't strike out, right? Just don't miss. Just don't swing early, right? And then that's what happens. And they don't even realize they're doing it. So power questions are what you use instead. So power questions will be like, well, what's my outcome? What do I want? How do I want this to go? Right? What resources do I have? Who can I lean on for support? Right? How can I make this more fun? What can I learn from this? So a great power question for your son, if he strikes out and you're like, how you feel? Frustrated. What'd you learn? Well, I learned I swung too early. Or I learned I got a little nervous because this guy's a really good pitcher. And so it got in my head. Right? Or I learned that I need to just slow down a little bit. Okay, so when you ask yourself what'd you learn, it causes them to focus on something that's instructional and that's empowering. So power questions empower you. They come from hope and faith and love and optimism. And so that will move you towards your goal. I don't think of thoughts as being positive or negative. I think of them as being useful and unuseful. So we want to make sure that our thoughts are more useful.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. And that's how everybody on paper wants their child to start thinking, like,
Hmm.
what can I learn from this experience? How can I
Hmm.
improve the next time? It's
Yes.
interesting, especially with ADHD. That is a really, really challenging. And as you know, with everybody you've worked with, it's like for them, time is now, not now. Right. We're not
Hmm.
sitting here reflecting on like that. Self-reflection is challenging in general, but it's very
Yes.
challenging for children. And it's very challenging for
Yes.
children with neurodiversity. And so,
Yeah.
helping them with these in the moment questions
Yeah.
starts to embed that inner voice with them, as opposed to them being independently trying to figure this out. It's like, how do we want our child to approach conflict? How do we want them to approach
Yeah.
the next problem? Well,
Yeah.
it's a repetition of these questions that we're asking that starts to embed in their own narrative.
That's exactly right. And here's the power move, right? Here's the pro tip. You're not just asking them these questions. When you're in your own situations, you're going to think out loud and ask yourself these questions, and you're going to let them observe you do it,
Oh my gosh, I
right?
say that all the time. That is like my favorite pro tip is like when you're
Yeah.
upset, because what we need is that space, that gap in order to get back online to be able to actually say the things we want to say to our children versus the like, oh
Yeah.
my God, what's wrong with you? Why would you do that? Because we're in our emotions. So it's
Yeah.
that intentional space that we're creating between like what just happened, what we say next, that gap. But in that gap, as opposed to just being silent and they're like, what's the next move, mom? Like, what are you what are you
Hmm.
doing? Because
Hmm.
sometimes
Hmm.
silence can be interpreted as like, uh-oh, is this scary? Like, what's going to happen next? But it's,
Yes. Yes.
hey, I'm feeling this way. Okay, I'm feeling this way. What is that saying? What is it? What should I be doing next? Those are so powerful. And I do that self narration all the time, to the point where like, okay, I see, mom, like they're bored of it at this point, but it really helps because I see my kids do it too. Like, not every
Yeah.
time, they don't nail it all the time, but I'm seeing that they'll be like, "Ah, I'm so frustrated. I'm going to go to my room and I'm going to draw." I'm like,
Hmm.
yes, like those
Yeah.
are those
Yeah.
moments that I'm like, oh, thank God you didn't just punch your brother instead.
That's true. That's true. Yes. So it helps us feel better, but remember that kids do what they see, not just what they hear, right? So what we're doing is we're teaching them without teaching them, right? So instead of telling them directly, we're allowing them to observe what we do. And so this is a skill for you to develop, not you specifically, but all of us,
All,
right? For
all
us
here, yeah.
to, yeah, this is a skill for all of us to develop so that our kids are watching us over a period of time. This is how we handle situations. And then then your kids are observing that and paying attention. And if you think they're not, you're wrong because they are. Even if they're on their phone, their subconscious mind is hearing you. And so if you're walking around the kitchen going, all right, what can I learn from this? All right, where am I thinking? What am I believing about this? Okay, this is what I'm believing. What would I rather believe instead? What can I learn from this? Okay, great. Now how can I use this to my advantage? Okay, great. Now how can I make this more fun? Okay. And you're just having a dialogue with yourself, but you're doing it out loud. And if you do it like 20 times, not once, if you do it 20 times, you'll actually get better at it and you'll feel better and your quality of life will improve. And then the bonus is that your kids will observe you doing that. And then they'll start to do it too, because it's osmosis. They're absorbing it. You start to behave like the people you hang out with. And so when you are noticing that, because kids with ADD will cause us to show up in a way where we're sporadic and acting out and everything because they're rubbing off of us, or we're rubbing, however it is, right? They're
Yeah,
influencing
yeah.
us.
This is like this forced task switching all the time. It's just
Yes,
like,
yes,
and that can really be challenging if, a lot of the parents in my community, they also have ADHD. And so it's the
sure, yeah,
confined, like, oh my gosh, I'm moving from one thing to the next to the next. And now you've
yes.
interrupted that moving from one thing to the next. So, it does feel like this overwhelming sense of nothing's getting done. Everything is urgent. And it's just like this pile of chaos all the time. So,
Yes,
that
yes.
intentional slowing down. And while I don't have ADHD, I am like a very driven, like the to-do list is wildly long every single day. And I have very high
Mhm,
expectations of my performance on a daily
mhm,
basis.
mhm.
And, that can butt up against their needs, wants, and desires in the moment as well. And so
Sure.
it's that slowing down, that intentionality of, all right, we're in a sticky spot. What am I feeling right now? What am I believing right now? What do I want to believe? How can we make it more fun? These are really wonderful ways, not only to get out of like the activation in the emotion center, but actually like
Yes.
start actively engaging in problem solving and communication skills that are really vital to emotional intelligence. Yeah.
Exactly right. Yes. Yeah. They will help you to show up with a little more peace instead of all the pressure and overwhelm. And that's what we're ultimately looking for. If we could just manage some of the pressure that we feel all the time, then we could show up more effectively. But because of the pressure, it causes us to worry. It causes us to ask a lot of lousy questions, and we don't even realize we're doing it. It reinforces those fear-based beliefs that are floating underneath our mindset. And then all of a sudden, we're not sleeping well. We're getting more headaches. We're feeling chronically fatigued all the time. Our own ADD is just, it feels like we can't focus and get anything done. Right. And so all these other symptoms from our high stress levels are making it harder on us. And so we show up with zero willpower, and then we just don't have any patience, and then we feel guilty and we beat up on ourselves. And so we go in this big terrible circle. And so recharging, taking care of yourself, recharging your own batteries, and then being able to upgrade your beliefs and improve the quality of the questions you ask every day are going to significantly help you feel more peaceful, so that you can create that environment of safety for your kids to figure things out in. And eventually, as they get older, they're going to be okay. And if you have a belief that no matter what it feels like right now, eventually they're going to be okay, they're going to be just fine, it will allow you to move forward with more peace and more confidence. And where you end up will be better, because there's like this self-fulfilling prophecy. So if you secretly think your kids are going to be, ruined for the rest of their lives, then you're going to be, uh, you know, you're going to subconsciously make decisions that move in that direction. right? So I have a client that his son was a promising athlete, incredible, had an accident, and now paraplegic, right? And can't really do much. He's there mentally, but his body just can't do anything. And this guy is like, the father is loves the kid so much, so happy, on such a great attitude, always taking care of his son. He could have felt like, life is over. My life is ruined, but he's not like that at all. He's like grateful that his son is still here. Right. So you can take any situation and you can use it in a way that allows us to grow and prosper. We just got to slow down enough to remind ourselves of that.
Can I be super real with you and tell you a personal story? A few years back, my son, the whole reason why I do the job I do today, was having one of those fiery moments. He was talking back, demanding it be his way. He was refusing to listen to any of our solutions, and the moment was getting really intense. My husband looked at me and said, "Well, you know all the parenting stuff, fix this." I completely froze. All the scripts from the books I'd read, all the strategies from the podcasts I'd listened to completely disappeared from my brain in that moment. But based on the volume of challenges that we were having with our strong-willed ADHD son, I knew I had to figure out a different way, because panicking in the moment and grasping at anything only to not follow through at all and end up yelling just wasn't working. From this experience, I developed a repeatable, easy to remember, and easy to follow system that literally works with every single triggering moment. I can attest to it because there are many in my life. Now I can show up the way I want. I can communicate in a way that actually resonates with my strong-willed child. If this sounds like a solution for what's happening in your home, take these next 2 steps. Number 1, watch the free training about my rewiring process in the show notes. And then number 2, book your free call. On that call, we will talk about what's happening in your home, and you will get a customized solution that works best for you. I assure you, this doesn't have to feel as hard day in and day out as it does. There is the solution, and I'm so excited to talk to you about it. I would love to dive in just a little bit more on that, because, the typical mother in general is fairly at her end of bandwidth of
Yeah.
what she can add to her plate. And,
Yes.
I talk a lot about how we try to muscle our way through these tough moments. We try to just kind of get through it, to just shut it down or be over, or just like, I just can't handle this anymore. I talk a lot about using skill power over willpower, because
Mhm.
willpower is only going to get us till like 8 in the morning, usually with an
Yeah.
ADHD kid.
Right.
So we actually need to have skills in place. You were
Yes.
talking about this 4-minute kind of process that you walk yourself through, because I know a lot of us, we've researched the hell out of ADHD. We've researched a lot on, so there's a lot of knowledge base, but it hasn't
Mm.
landed and it hasn't solidified in the body. So
Yeah.
we talk about regulation practices. I talk about like reading your patterns and starting to understand where you tend to get more activated, and then having some
Hmm.
practice, some regulation practice inserted right there, that we don't just say, "Oh, I'll do it later." Like, I was talking to my husband, he was leaving, he's all stressed out for work. I said, "Take a few minutes." He goes, "Why?" "I have too much to do." I said, "Because you're going to bleed over into the next interaction with the next person from
Yeah.
this state." So
Hmm.
even though we think, "I don't have time, I just have to get through this," we're actually creating a lot more time on the other end of this, of like how long we're going to have to clean up the mess, how long we're going to ruminate on the problem, how much we're going to have to spend time in repair. So what's
Hmm.
your kind of, I know you mentioned that you had like a 4-minute mental like reset to help get through that, like identify that belief and shift it in the moment. Can you walk us through that one?
Sure. Yes, I'll do that, because our tendency is to want to speed up, because that's what we do. We just need to go faster. But I grew up in Indiana, and during the winter time, you could find that you're driving a car and you're on a patch of ice. And if you want to move, you got to take your foot off the gas pedal, right? Most people are jamming on the gas pedal and you're burning up a lot of fuel and the tires are spinning, but you're not going anywhere. You got to take your foot off the gas, let the tires catch, and then move forward, right? And so, uh, we got to, just like if we were trying to hit a bullseye, you've got to aim before you start firing. And most of us are just fire, 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 right? And so this is a way of taking a few minutes and just slowing down. And so I'll take us through an experience that kind of upgrade some of these beliefs right now. If anybody's listening to this while you're driving, just pause this and come back to it later. Okay, because this is an experience that you're supposed to do with your eyes closed. There's an old expression that says, when you learn to go within, you never go without. So, all right, so I want everybody to go ahead and close your eyes if it's safe for you to do so. Then take a slow power breath in. You're going to breathe in through your nose, breathe down to your belly, down to the bottom of your lungs, and then slowly exhale. When you breathe in through your nose, down to your belly, and then you slowly exhale, and you do that 5 times in a row, it activates your relaxation response. Your body's built-in ability to feel more calm, peaceful, and at ease. Most people are holding their breath or breathing through their mouth. And so when you breathe in through your nose, down to your belly, you just imagine you're pulling that soothing, healing oxygen down into each and every cell of your body. And each cell of your body is like a little watch battery that at this very moment is being refreshed and recharged and rejuvenated. So by the time this short little meditation is complete, you feel great. Now I want you to imagine that as you breathe in through your nose again, that you pull sunshine from a warm summer's day down through the top of your head and imagine swishing it through your body like waves of light, swishing down over you and moving through you, massaging down through your scalp, down the back of your head into your neck and shoulders. Just lower those shoulders down an inch, feeling that warm sunshine moving down through your arms, down to your hands and fingers. And then on your own time, take another slow power breath in. And then as you exhale, move more of that sunshine down from your shoulders, down through your torso, down to your hips, feeling your whole upper body soften, loosen, and relax. And then when you're ready, do that one more time. Take a full power breath in, fill those lungs all the way. And then as you exhale, just imagine sending the rest of that sunshine down through your hips, down to your knees. And imagine moving all the rest of it over the tops, sides, and bottoms of your feet, as though there's little drains in the bottoms of your feet like a bathtub. And you're allowing all the remaining tension and pressure to flow down and out and away. So the whole rest of this time, we're filling back up with only good, wonderful, peaceful thoughts and feelings. And that feels good. In fact, you can imagine that sunshine shines so brightly within you that it moves through the pores of your skin and it surrounds you in this force field of protection that you're going to take with you everywhere you go. It locks in the peace and it locks out the pressure. So you just feel more at ease in any situation where you used to feel stressed or upset. It's like you've got this magic remote control now and you just point it at those situations and you hit the mute button or you shrink those situations down so they seem smaller and tinier because they're just experiences. You are the experiencer. You're more powerful than any experiences that you have. Now I want you to imagine that you're in a room and there's a chalkboard in front of you. And this chalkboard is connected to your subconscious mind, the part of you that stores your beliefs. And these beliefs are like your rules about how you think of yourself, how you think of others, how you view the world around you. And these beliefs are influencing you all the time. And so I want you to imagine that any negative beliefs, any beliefs that are causing stress, worry, or fear begin to appear on that chalkboard like lines or sentences that are written in chalk. So you might have a belief that this is a terrible situation, or life is unfair, or I can't handle it, or I'm not feeling loved, or I don't feel respected, or this is too stressful. whatever it may be, whatever thoughts that you secretly have in your mind, just imagine they appear on that chalkboard. It's never going to get any better. I'm not good enough. I can't do this. I don't deserve to feel happy. My life is over. All these worries and fears that in the secrecy of our own mind become really amped up and a little out of control. And you just imagine they appear on that chalkboard. But then you notice that there's an eraser over there as well. And that's when you recognize that these are just ideas. Beliefs are just ideas. They're not facts. They're not truth. They're just ideas. They're opinions. And you have the right to whatever opinions you want. In fact, most of these opinions were formed in you when you were little, when you were a little kid. These weren't even your ideas. They were just absorbed into you when you were a kid. And so you have the ability to choose what you'd rather believe right now as an adult. So the first step to doing that is to walk up to that chalkboard, grab that eraser, and imagine erasing those words off the board. Erase them right off the board. And if you ever feel like there's resistance, like the board is resisting erasing those, light the board on fire. Imagine you got a flamethrower and you're just going to light that board on fire because you are more powerful. Remember, you are the experiencer. This is your imagination. So you lean in. Then you imagine that board becomes blank or clean, or you burn down the old board and a new fresh board appears. That's what we call opportunities, possibilities. And that's what happens every time we look for them. Every time you shift your attention to what's possible, then the possibilities appear. It's a great power question. What's possible here? What would I like to believe? What's an outcome that I would really want? And if that worrisome fear says, yeah, but it ain't ever going to happen, you just imagine it's just one more thing to erase or light on fire. Because those are the worries and the fears, false evidence appearing real. Then you look at your blank board and you decide, what would I rather believe instead? What would make me feel more peaceful, more safe, more loved? And then you might write down that I am safe. I am more than enough. I'm already doing a great job just for showing up. That everything is going to end up working out for me in the end, and my kids, and my child. Everything works out in the end. If it hasn't worked out yet, it just means it isn't the end. I got this. I'm worthy. I wouldn't be given this kind of challenge unless I had the ability to rise to the occasion. Then you walk up to that chalkboard, and maybe instead of a piece of chalk, there's a marker. There's a Sharpie there, maybe your favorite color Sharpie. And you start writing some new beliefs on the board. What would I rather believe instead that would empower me, that would help me know that I'm going to be okay, that my kids are going to be okay? And then you start writing down, I am worthy. I'm more than enough. I am capable, and I'm proud of myself for showing up. Every day in every way, I just keep getting better and better. Whatever it is you want to believe, start with I am, as though it's already true. It's already here and now. And you're just, even if it isn't true yet, as you state it and claim it, it becomes so. Your unconscious mind works 24 hours a day to figure out how to make it happen. You don't have to know the how. You just got to know what you want. You don't have to know if you're going somewhere how the GPS is going to get you there. You just got to tell it the destination, and it will figure it out for you. So you imagine writing it down, locking it in. And you remind yourself that I am safe, I got this, and everything's going to be okay. Then you take a slow power breath in through your nose as you slowly exhale, knowing you can return to this chalkboard anytime you want. You just know that these new ideas are locked firmly in your subconscious mind now, working and guiding you from behind the scenes 24 hours a day, and it's going to show up now in your life in ways that help you feel more resourceful, more resilient, more hopeful, and more at peace. Then you find yourself coming back into this room now. And I'm going to count from 1 up to 5. When I say 5, you'll open your eyes, feeling rested and refreshed. 1, coming up, feeling good. 2, feeling proud of yourself for making the time to listen to this episode. 3, feeling rested and refreshed. 4, being in a really more peaceful mood the whole week through. And then slowly, gently, with a count of 5, slowly opening your eyes now, feeling rested and refreshed. Great job. Woohoo! All right. Yay, you.
I did that the whole time, and wow, that's very powerful. That's very powerful. You know what I love the most about that is it doesn't give you an opportunity to rehearse the problem. It doesn't give you an opportunity.
Wow, that's wise. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you don't even
I know what you mean.
because
Yeah.
we can bypass if you're like, yeah, I'm gonna take a couple deep breaths, but while we're taking the deep breaths, we're like still practicing what we're gonna say next, and we're practicing all those things. And like this
Yeah.
I love the visual of writing it down and erasing it. That's just so powerful because you're so right. It's like we have every opportunity to claim what we want in this life, claim the relationships we want, show up the way we want, to not feel like we're constantly hijacked. And that hijacking is a pattern, but we can always break that pattern. And so this is very, very powerful. I hope everybody does that, because when you lean into it, you can feel this profound sense of possibility on the other side of like, it doesn't have to feel like this all the time. We can actually own and create. I loved that. Thank you so much for doing that for us.
Oh, yeah, it's my pleasure. I have a quick story if you'd like to hear it. It's the one that helps me get through a lot of times. And, I was, I guess I still am, but I focused a lot in my practice on helping people overcome trauma, right? And post-traumatic stress. So I've heard the worst things that people go through in their lives for years. And this story always got me through because I've been a business owner for 31 years, and I've had ups and downs and lost businesses and had to let go of all my staff, and, nearly went bankrupt, and then also had amazing joys and successes and breakthroughs. And I've helped so many, probably over 1 million people with all the tools and strategies and books and everything. So there's a balance there. You can feel like it's the best day and the worst day on the same day every freaking day.
That is so true.
Right? That's how life is. And it's how you're narrating it to yourself. But anyway, I heard this story once. I thought it was really good. So this woman's really overwhelmed, really stressed out. She goes to bed. She's having a hard time sleeping. She finally falls asleep, and she has this dream that she's holding this big cross, and it's very heavy. And then all of a sudden God appears, and she's like, God, I'm so frustrated. This is too heavy. I can't believe you gave this to me. This is just too much. I can't handle it. And he says, well, give it to me. I'll carry it for you. So she gives him the cross and feels so much better. This weight is lifted. And then he says, but you still have to grow. You still got to have that development, and that's why you're human. And so I want you to pick out a cross that's right for you. And all of a sudden she's surrounded by all these crosses, right? And she's like, okay, I'm going to really be specific about this. So she's looking around, and there's giant crosses, and she's like, whoa, that's beyond me. And there's tiny little crosses, and she's like, well, I'm not a wimp. I'm tougher than that. And so I want to be challenged. So she's looking and looking, and she finally finds this one cross, and it's not too big, but it's not small either. I mean, it's going to help her grow. And so she grabs it, and she walks up, and she just feels lighter and more hopeful. And she says, here, God, this is the one that I want. And God smiles and says, but that's the one you just gave me. And so we often feel like these crosses are just too much, and we can't do it, and we're not ready for this, and we're not built for this. But if you have that cross, you are, right? More capable than you even recognize. And there are rewards for the challenges and the pressures as long as you stay on the field and you keep learning and you keep growing and you keep getting support. Because the worst thing you can do is isolate yourself. That's the worst thing you can do. So stay connected. If you're not subscribed to Becky's podcast, subscribe, share it with your friends, share it with your support groups, because this helps so much. And as you continue to get those tools and you continue to get even one nugget that helps you, it can make a huge difference.
Yeah, yeah. I recommend doing this exercise before you pick your kids up from school, before you see them in the morning, really painting that picture. What do I want on this blackboard or chalkboard
Mm,
before I show up to the next interaction? Something I
mhm.
say to myself every morning before I like actually get out of bed, I say, show me how fun and easy this could look today. Every day,
Mm,
show me how fun my job can be.
yeah.
Show me how easy this can be. Show me how good this can be. And when you're
Mhm.
in that mindset, it's amazing what shows up. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
amazing when you're like, breakfast wasn't hard or getting them off to
Yeah.
school wasn't hard. It didn't have to be a battle. And I think
Yeah.
this is just such a beautiful way to upgrade, like you were saying, upgrade those thoughts, upgrade that unconscious belief pattern, because wow, does that really drive the ship?
Well said.
Oh, well,
That's
thank
right.
you so much, Tim, for being here. Where can people find you? Where should they be following you, listening to, buying your books, all the things? What should they be
Yeah.
doing?
Well, we'll put the show some links in the show notes. You can get my One Belief Away book if you have time to read at onebeliefawaybook.com, or you can go to Amazon and get the audiobook version, which might be easier for you.
Yeah, that's how I
My
read books.
practice, yeah, my practice is indie hypnosis, so INDY like Indianapolis, indiehypnosis.com. And so if you need support or you want to find some of our programs, you can go there. And then we'll have like the high performance switch link in the show notes so that you can get that for free.
Amazing. Well, thank you so
Yeah.
much. And everybody, I hope you listen to this multiple times. Keep that clip of that reset because, wow, that's going to be very powerful and serve you many, many times. So thank you, Tim, so much for being here. I so appreciate it. And I will see you all next week. Thank you for listening to the Response Able Parenting Podcast. If you like what you heard, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. If you know someone who would benefit from this podcast, I'd be honored if you'd share this episode with them. Until next time, know that you are enough, you are capable, you've made it through all of your hardest days, and we will keep growing on this parenting journey together. This podcast was produced by Kim Kelty and myself, Becky Jennings, and edited by the Kelty Method, Branding and Podcasting.